Welcome back to How to Draw the Right Way. In this episode, we trace down the elusive Dr. Eggman. This guy loves playing hard to get. I've chosen to go with the lead character artist of Sonic 2, Yasushi Yamaguchi, also known as Judy Totoya's design for Eggman. I really just enjoy his line work. It reminds me of Iguchi's character sheets for Sonic. It's just a wonderful design for Eggman. And the reason I chose not to go with Toei Eggman is he's only seen briefly, making his references sparse. And despite me loving how Eggman is portrayed in the OVA, the proportions Totoya chose is again closer to how Eggman's sprites look, but you may find referencing the OVA additionally helpful. Modern Eggman really cranks up the complexity of Eggman's design. It's personally not my favorite glow-up, but it works in the modern series. The approach to learning how to draw characters begins by breaking down the character into 2D shapes so we can transfer them into 3D. I know I keep saying this, but it's vitally important to drawing anything. It's a fundamental of illustration. I'll do a quick draw over of Eggman laying out the basic shapes. Tracing can be helpful to understand how a character's shapes and lines work together. Eggman, like Sonic, is mostly made up of circles, however his shapes are inverted. Instead, he has a large body and a small head. Note how Eggman's overall shape is an egg. His head is actually not a perfect circle, it kind of tapers on the sides, up to the top. His body is about 2.5 to 3 times the size of his head. Getting a design correct is all about proportion. For example, Eggman's circular glasses sit right on top of his triangular nose, taking up the majority of his facial area. His head is more accurately represented as a half circle, as it gets cut off by his expression or his suit. I'll be referencing this adventure artwork for Eggman's pose, and apply my study of Totoya's design to it. As always, I like to start with a couple circles just to get the main body in place and the head, and then I'll begin to do some gestural work to really get a feel for how Eggman's standing and the pose that I want him in. And if I just reference the adventure artwork, I can tell that he's kind of leaning to one side, so I'm trying to get that in my overall line of action. Again, I keep everything loose, general, simple. I'm not nailing any details down yet. Even for his hands, I just use blocks at first and then I begin to refine everything. Eggman's body is a sphere, so the contour of his belt line or his pant line is going to conform to the angle and the shape of the sphere. If you put his body angled downward, we want the line to be facing down like it's below the horizon line, as you can see in this first drawing. And in the second drawing, I'm going to put the belt line facing upward a little bit because his body is rotated upward. This is how we translate 2D into 3D. And the second drawing I'm going to do is a pose by Andrew Dickman I found on DeviantArt. I think this is just a really great pose for Eggman. It really captures his personality. So shout out to Andrew Dickman. I don't know him personally, but I just want to give credit where it's due. I'm going to do the exact same thing I did before. I'm going to draw his body and then define a line of action, and from there just gesturally feel out where his limbs should be. It's not guesswork, but it's also not a formula. You kind of have to feel out a pose in a character. And again, as I mentioned in my last tutorial, the fun part about sketching for me is how fluid everything can be. My sketches don't have to look or be a certain kind of way. They can look however I want them to, and I'm free to change and edit them as I need. Remember that basic shapes are just a guideline. You don't have to adhere strictly to them. You can build off of them, you can round them out, you can smooth them out. They're there just to help you establish the correct proportions and overall shapes of the character. I decided to clean up the sketches in post, and I basically just drew on top of them. That concludes another episode of How to Draw the Right Way. If you'd like the full recording that isn't sped up to more easily follow along, you can purchase it on my Gumroad for only $1, which also includes the final full res image. Thanks for watching.